Well, I know Gentile theology. I know that what I know, God knows. He knows everything about me. And God knows all the truth, always has. I don't understand why that God has given me all of this revelation knowledge and all of this wonderful information, and seemingly He doesn't want me to share it with anybody. I can put it on YouTube, and if anybody finds it, well, that'll be good. But without the Apostle Paul, there never would have been a Martin Luther. Without the Apostle Paul, there would never have been a Protestant movement. Without the Apostle Paul, there would be no Presbyterians, Episcopalians, Baptists, Methodists, Assembly of God, Church of God, Nazarene, on and on and on. In fact, without the Apostle Paul, there may not have ever been a really strong Catholic Church. Next to Jesus Christ, the Apostle Paul is the greatest man in the Bible. And the reason I say that is the Apostle Paul got the revelation knowledge from God, and he understood the mystery of faith. He's the only man in the Bible that wrote down and fully understood that Abraham had faith long before he was circumcised. Abraham, by faith, went looking and searching for a city that hath foundations, whose builder and maker is God. He did that when he left Ur of the Chaldees, and his name was not even Abraham, it was Abram. Paul is the only man in the Bible that really understood that faith was before the Jewish law. Abraham had faith, and God called Abraham a righteous man and his friend. James and Jude, the brothers of Jesus Christ, the natural brothers, they never fully understood faith. James said, if you show me faith, I'll show you my works, and faith without works is dead. It was the Apostle Paul that taught us salvation is by grace, through faith, not of works, lest any man should boast. Without the Apostle Paul, there would have been very, very, very little in the New Testament worth reading. The Apostle Paul died before the book of Revelation was even brought out. And that's why that I don't ever read the book of Revelation, and I don't have much use for it. I don't really think it should be in the Bible. I think that John, who wrote the book of Revelation, was not the Apostle John, and therefore his writings were no different than any other Christian who had an experience and wrote about it. So the Apostle Paul founded what I call Gentile theology. And without Gentile theology, none of us Gentiles would be saved. If you'll think about it, Peter never founded any church. He just helped establish the church at Jerusalem where all of the disciples hung out. And James and John and all of them, and where did they have that church? They held their church services in the synagogues and in the temple. They never was able to separate themselves from the Jewish religion. And Paul went all over the Gentile world teaching faith and teaching the true gospel of Jesus Christ apart from the law. And then Paul made a tragic mistake because he went back to Jerusalem because he tried so hard to reach the Christians at Jerusalem and trying to help them understand. And Paul made a mistake. He should have listened to Agabus, the prophet. He should have listened to all of his friends who by the Holy Spirit told him, don't go to Jerusalem. He went to Jerusalem to try to help his brethren, the Jews that he loved so dearly. And then he let Peter and James and John talk him into shaving his head, going through an old ritual of Jewish purification, and he went to the temple with them and was going to make sacrifice. Now, Paul knew better than that. He knew that Jesus Christ was the forever sacrifice, the eternal sacrifice, and he knew that the veil on the temple had been rent, and he knew better than going in there. And then he got arrested, and then off to Rome he went. And he convinced himself that that was God's will. Well, he could have gone to Rome without going as a prisoner. He didn't have to go to Rome wearing a chain. He could have went to Rome as a man of God the same way he went to all of the other places that he preached the gospel. So yes, I have the message of Gentile theology, and I have an understanding about the life of Paul the Apostle, and I'll tell you that next to Jesus Christ, he's the second greatest man in the Bible. Jesus was perfect, Paul was not. Jesus made no mistakes. The Apostle Paul made many mistakes. But he was beaten and he was suffered greatly for his mistakes. And the disciples all were killed and martyred, and they went around and I'm not saying they did not love Jesus Christ with all of their heart, soul, strength, and might. I know they did. But you tell me what great church they ever built. Now, I understand historians will say, yeah, well, they went down and built a church in Ethiopia, and they had a small following of people in India. And okay, I'm up with that. That's fine. But I can tell you this, without the Apostle Paul, there would have never been a Baptist church or a Methodist church or a Pentecostal church or a charismatic church. The Apostle Paul brought to us, the Gentile people, the gospel of Jesus Christ, his virgin birth, his sinless life, his death on the cross for us, and to fulfill and rid the earth from the curse of the law, and his resurrection from the dead to bring power and to go and sit at the Father's right hand and make ministry for us. So I have this great message and I want to preach it to the world, but at this point Jesus just does not want me to preach it, I guess, because no door has been opened to me. So that's okay. We'll just leave it where it is. I belong to Jesus, and he's in charge and he's in control of my ministry. All right, so now you heard it straight from me. This is exactly 100% my opinion. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.